Hello, hello. How's everybody doing? Back with you with tonight's recap, September 18th, 2020. What a finish to the week. Up $1,200 today alone. So that puts us just shy of $2,000 for this week in an absolutely disgusting market. I mean, I went through this yesterday with my recap, and I showed you the Nasdaq and the S&P and and the Dow Jones. And to no surprise, again, today, all of those indices are red. We had a little bit of choppiness in the morning, downtrend, followed by uptrend, followed by up and down, followed by down, followed by up. Like, it's just kind of all over the place. So, yeah. But even then, there was some great opportunities to make money in the morning and the afternoon. So I'll be going over those trades. I was touching VXRT, PRTY, and SAVA for my trades today. So let's start recapping those. So the first one was $190 loss in the morning on VXRT. And actually what I'll do is, this is a NASDAQ stock. So let's take a look at the NASDAQ stock for a second. You see this kind of V-shaped pattern in the morning. Well, to no surprise, VXRT doing the exact same thing, the V-shaped pattern. About 80% of the stocks, they follow the market trends. So I just got caught in a bad action. A little bit complacent in my trading, but nonetheless, what I had seen was that VXRT was trading as high as 943 on September 17th. And, typically in this type of a crash, a lot of shorts are piling in. So I was expecting a morning spike. And we got the morning spike, and that's what was kind of misleading about it. We had the morning spike right here. And usually I don't like to buy these green candles. I like to buy the pullbacks. And as soon as the pullback showed its first indication here, I was in the 813s. And then I got caught in the downside. I was holding here to see how the stock was going to behave here in this support line in the 8s. And the moment it cracked through 8, I got out at 794. So, a little bit of a just shy of $200 loss, $190 loss to be exact, from the 813s to the 794s. But nonetheless, there was a play here, and I got busy with PRTY and SAVA, but let's take a look at this. So where did this thing bounce off of? It bounced off of exact support from September 17th. Same thing. It dipped, and then it touched support, and then beautiful, 760 to 840, almost $1 per share move right here. Okay. So PRTY is a really good thing to recap, because if you look back to my watch list, where was it here? I was talking about PRTY. I think it was on my September 17th watch list. Yeah, so I posted this pre-market, and I talked about the multi-month breakout at 310 holding near its highs, and that it had a beautiful uptrending chart, and it could run. It really could run. It might need to consolidate a bit more before it breaks, but it looks ready to go. So what was I seeing? I was seeing that, well, since November of 2019, we had issues here in the 320s multiple times. Once, twice, 3 times. I guess you can count this close. 4, 5, 6. Okay. So finally today, the stock decided to break out. We had good amounts of volume coming in. You see that in the morning as well. And you see this green line I had right here? That's what you need to look at these stocks at. And this is how you look at them. I put my alerts in, and then I forget about them. I know what are high odds setups, and I know how these stocks behave. And I pour my alerts in, and I let the alert tell me when it's ready to pay attention to it. So to no surprise today, PRTY had a morning spike here at 934, so it alerted me about it. And as the case usually is, if you watch any of my content, or if you're involved in any of my consultation courses, you know that I don't like buying the first breakout. I like the dip, and when it confirms this U-shaped pattern and then runs, I like buying in this region right here. So I was in the 310s, and I got in with 3,000 shares at 310. And, I held as long as this trend line proved to continue. So this trend line was showing that this stock is bullish right until this area right here. Okay. So as soon as it started reversing, and to kind of show you what I did to my trend line, at first my trend line looked like something like this. Okay. So as soon as it started taking out the 325s, and so I was out here in this range. 328 was my first exit. And then as it took out the second trend line, I was out in the 323s. I got to go back and check. But anyway, all together about $460 worth of profit between I guess that was 9:38 till 10:12. You know, not bad, especially on 3,000 shares. But I think the more important thing to take away from this is that this was alerted, not today. It was alerted on September 17th. And you know what? It probably could have even been alerted back on August 31st when these kind of 290s, $3 highs were formed. Off of this percent gainer, you could have caught this. And you would have had to literally wait for 18 days before this thing broke out. Right? So that's why you want to have a strong platform. You want to have a toolbox that lets you put things like alerts into it so you can just forget about it. Know what to look for, put the alert in, and then forget about it and let the stock show itself to you. And when it showed that it was ready to run, well, what a power move this was. I mean, you had your, you had for sure 10% here. 3 to 332 is essentially 10%. Okay? A lot of people wait years to get 10% in their mutual funds and their RSPs or their 401ks, and the strategies that we teach, you get 10% inside of an hour. So I don't know, choose your pain. Wait and hold and hope, and hopefully the smart people can make you some money or become self-sufficient and make yourself some money inside of an hour. I guess you pick your poison. The next one. So again, we're trading SAVA today. Very beautiful chart pattern, but I think what needs to be talked about is even the bigger picture here. Because I was alerting SAVA, was it back on September 15th even? I think I was talking about, yeah. So September 15th, I had a watch list. You can go back to my Facebook group page and see that this was alerted for a nice ABCD pattern back on the 15th. And it didn't do any of that, okay? Instead of spiking and taking out the 9s, it decided to just dip, right? But the bigger pattern is absolutely important to pay attention to. So what do I mean by that? We had the morning spike in the pre-market. We had the pullback over a few days. We had the consolidation over a few days. And then it spiked between September 17th after hours and September 18th market hours and pre-market hours as well. So when on a macro scale, the big scale, when the chart is in the D portion of the pattern, this is kind of like a rising tide. So in a rising tide, it's extremely hard to lose. Even though the market was not performing well, this stock was performing well, okay? And I think it's really important to go into understanding why the stock was performing well. So I'm not going to go through a lot of the things here, but you can do some research on your own if you want to learn this. But essentially on sec.gov, go and put in SAVA, and you'll see that on September 17th, there was a statement of changes in the beneficial ownership of securities, form number 4, filed by the director of SAVA. And what were they talking about? Back on September 17th, which means right here at 3 a.m., where my mouse is, they had filed that the director of SAVA was going to buy a ton of shares, okay? And then when was the news released into the market? The news was released into the market on September 18th at 8:07 a.m., okay? So at 8:07, which is right in, September 18th. So right here, yeah. So at 8:07, somewhere in here, the news was actually released to the public. But the public had access to these SEC filings had they done their due diligence. So to no surprise, the spike in the stock happened due to insider buying on the evening of September 17th. People caught notice of it. News was released. And you get this Cassava Sciences plus 21% on insider purchase. Okay, so this stuff is predictable, and that's why it just irks me to no end when people just say, oh, the markets are unpredictable, it's gambling. No, it's not. You just don't have the discipline to learning it. If you can hone in the next 3, 4, 6 months to learn this stuff, even you can make money in the markets. Yes, even you. So basically, this is predictable stuff. September 17th, an SEC filing was dropped by the company saying that the director is going to buy up a bunch of shares, which is a good sign. Anytime you have insiders buying up a company, that means there's probably something going on that they want to be owning more shares with regards to, right? So then that's it. And then anybody who was trading this here on the September 17th with the knowledge of this SEC filing, look at the gains they made from the sevens opening up in the in the high 8s and 9s and went as high as the 1040s. I mean, what a move this is right here. Okay, so SAVA was the place that I was trading today on multiple occasions. And, you know, I was trading it off of the morning spike right here, the pullback off the morning spike. And again, on a macro scale, the stock is moving. So it's very difficult to lose in the stock, okay? Because the overall trend is upwards. So where did I get filled? I got filled here at 90. I gotta double check my entry, but I was somewhere here in 903s. I think it was 906. Yeah, it was 906 right here at 9:50, 9:53 a.m. And I even held through the dip right here. But what did I see? That's what's more important. How did I know to enter at 906? Well, what we have right here is we have pre-market action based on the insider buyers coming in and scooping up a bunch of shares, and it kind of blew off, and we had a bit of a delayed morning spike. Once we had that morning spike, it pulled back to where? To the VWAP. Okay? And anytime a stock proves that it can kind of reverse off a VWAP, it's usually a bullish sign. Not to mention that our trend line was holding true the entire time. When this thing bounced off a VWAP, our trend line stayed consistent. And I can actually draw this line even further up. And that's like the average trend. And the entire time the stock went up, it would retrace towards the trend line, go up, retrace towards the trend line, go up, retrace towards the trend line, and so forth until it finally cracked the trend line for the first time right here. Like, let me extend this line right here so you can see. For the first time, it cracked through that trend line. Right where it cracked through the trend line was the sign for the most probable reversal, okay? It doesn't work like an exact black and white science. You know, this could just be a fake out before the next run. But overall, this is where the stock most likely would be reversing for the downside. And that's exactly what happened, okay? So anyway, I was here in the 906s or so for the price point. I held to the dips off of VWAP because the overall macro tide, the overall tide of the stock is uptrending. So I wasn't too nervous. And yeah, just held the stock. That's it. So I held the stock, and I sold, I believe, into this dip right here. I was out in the 930s and the 950s. I got to go back and double check. I alerted on my Facebook groups to go in there, and you'll see exactly what my entries and exits were. But anyway, I was out for another $440 profit on this one on a meager 1,000 shares. And had I been more patient and had I stuck more to my trend line, way more profits available right here. I mean, at 906 out at 10, what was this up here? The high is at 1013. I mean, that's $1,000 inside of an hour, right? 956 to 1050, yeah, in an hour. And typically with me, I get impatient, right? Like as these stocks start going up and I'm already up, I don't want to just stay there and be caught in a massive dip. So I just take my profits and I get out. But I mean, if you're patient, you can absolutely follow the trend line right here. So one of the questions that some students kind of ask me is, you know, how do you know when to buy and how do you know when to sell? Well, in a choppy market like this, I like to capitalize on buying the pullbacks. And if the pullbacks can show that they can hold and then spike through again, like in this case, you have the pullback off of the spike. It's done this kind of U-shaped pattern. If I can get this U-shaped confirmation with volume, then that gives me a lot of confidence that this thing is uptrending, especially when it happens a second time, a third time, a fourth time, and so forth, okay? And even here, even where it cracked this kind of trend line, look at what happened. It's basically a major U-shape before it ran up again. So the uptrend was the formation of a U-shape. So if you can spot the U-shape and if you can respect to not chase these candles when they make new highs, I don't recommend chasing new highs, okay? I recommend letting the stock prove itself either by retracing towards the trend line, then move up, or retrace through the trend line and find where the new area of trend reversal is occurring, which in this case was proved when this started making new highs off of VWAP. Okay, now if all this sounds a little bit too complicated, you know, we do teach this stuff, so by all means get in touch. We'll get you educated so you can be a machine in the markets. But this is such predictable price action, okay? And this stuff will go on with or without you. So the money is there to be made. You just have to hone in the discipline to actually want to make it. Okay, and then on the I traded SAVA a few times on the way up. I did it again here in the afternoon. I guess was it no, not here. It was the second time it bounced off VWAP. I traded it here. So yet again, what did I see? I saw a reversal. So off of VWAP, there was another reversal. Exact same thing that happened in the morning. And I didn't get in right in the get-go. I needed to see if this thing could hold. So what did I look for? I drew my line. Sorry, that's a really horrible line. Let me try deleting that and try that again. Let me zoom in right here. So I started paying attention to this stock's trend line like this. Okay? So when it started showing to me that it was able to hold the trend line, then it was a viable point of entry for me. Okay? So what I mean by that is that if you look at the formation right here, as it started taking out every single price point, so you start taking out the 950s, the 960s, the 970s, the 980s, and when it finally retraced off of this trend line, now I was looking to see, okay, what's going to happen? Is it going to taper off or is it going to start running again? When it decided that it can start running towards the trend line on the back side of this trend line, now I had a second trend line that I could draw. Okay, let me just draw this right here. And let's try to extend that a little bit so you get a better visual. Right there. So this meant to me that so long as the stock was going to stay on the back side of this first trend line and trend upwards with the bottom trend line that we've now formed, this is still an uptrending stock until when? Until it takes out the second trend line. Okay? So I entered in the 980s and I was selling in the 10s right here, in the 1015s and 1005s. I got to double check the exact exit point, but there was another $300 or so made here today on this trade. And then after it kind of broke through this trend line, you could rinse and repeat. You know, you could draw another kind of average line right here and use that as your second area. And so long as it's playing in this kind of channel, it's still uptrending until it breaks through that. But the important thing to recognize is you see how the trend is slowly reducing. Like here, let me just screen that and throw that into Paint. You know, here, let me just zoom into that. You see how right here we are. No, that's not working out. That's not what I want. All right, there we go. Brush on a green candle. Okay, so you see how the trend is going from going up this way to going sideways this way to going sideways this way. Okay, so you want to be involved when the stock is in this uptrending, in this uptrending scenario. So the more these trend lines start forming lower angles, it's a sign that the stock is actually reversing. Okay? And then on the downside, I was also shorting the stock again, so you can draw these trend lines in reverse. Let me just clear these drawings. And as soon as we started forming a little bit of a trend line right here, you know, we had right here. Perfect. I was shorting this in the 1005s and covering in the 980s. So again, until it retraced on the back side of the trend line and started showing little signs of consolidation. And anyway, by this point I was out. So down here in the 980s, when we started finally getting this second trend line, let me draw this as well for you guys. Okay, I was down here in the 980s. I was out. I think it was actually 985. I gotta double check my order, guys. But anyway, another few $100 made on the downside. and money was made on the short side as well. Okay, so yeah, I actually don't know if it's really worth it to go through the today's watch list here. Let me go and dig it up just to kind of fly through it quick, because you know, we already talked about SAVA. We talked about PIX. PRTK, I don't think it did what we were thinking it was going to do. Let's take a look here. Oh, yeah, I guess in the afternoon it kind of double topped here with September 17th price action. So it didn't really do what we were looking for here. Let me just close all these different watch lists I have on the 18th. So multi-year breakout today can have a nice continuation play, mindful of overall markets, of course. So it's not really moving that strong. Markets are kind of downtrending. So the fact that we're even moving upwards and getting a percent gainer is already amazing on its own. SAVA and PIX have already talked about. Actually, did I talk about PIX? I don't actually think I did. Well, let's go into it again. Again, my mind's going crazy. I'm talking about so many different things. No, I did not talk about PIX. Okay, so PIX is another one I want to see here. I was talking about PIX back a few days ago on my watch list this week. PIX, right here. So this was on the September 16th watch list, and when does it decide to finally go? On September 18th. Look at this. This thing had been testing the highs of 620 once, twice, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and finally today on the 10th time, it broke out with a little bit of volume. And what an absolute beautiful mover right here. 620s all the way to the 7. I mean, it doesn't get any more beautiful like this, especially in a market like ours that's so, just bad and choppy right now and downtrending. People are upset about losing money on the blue chips right now, and there's a complete different realm of traders that are just crushing it in the markets because they understand the inefficiencies of the lower price stocks. Okay? So again, this was alerted way back here. It didn't decide to run until today. So it's not just about finding the day's percent gainer. Oftentimes, you got to find today's percent gainer because the play is going to happen in a day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days from now. Okay? And you could have played this on both sides. On the long side, on the short side, and on the dip buy side. So you had 2 long plays and a short play. I mean, it doesn't get any more beautiful than that. And while people are sitting there worried about their incomes and relying on Social Security and all sorts of stuff, if they could just put some time and effort into learning this stuff, they will no longer look at money the same way again. Okay? So I think I'm going to close on that. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. We're up $2,000 on the week this week in a horrible week, in a horrible overall market conditions. So I hope that inspires you. Study up. We'll be back with you next week. Have a great evening and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.